Welcome back, everybody. So, hey, okay. Before I get into this movie review, this is probably only the real second time I've got a chance to see myself with no hair and a beard. Okay, I was looking at myself when I was shaving off my beard, but I never really took any notice about what I look like until right now, until I put on press record on this camera. I look so different. It's absolutely incredible how different I actually look. Never shave off the beard, ever. Or just trim it up would be ideal. But anyway, moving on to the movie review before I stop recording because I don't really like the look of myself. Anyway, Captain America, the First Avenger movie review. So, Captain America, the First Avenger was released on the 29th of July 2011. It was directed by Joe Johnson. It was made on a budget of 140 million US dollars and made 370.6 million US dollars. The cast in this movie is reasonably impressive as well. We've got Chris Evans as Steve Rogers and Captain America. We've got Hayley Atwell as Peggy Carter, or Agent Carter, in this movie. Sebastian Stan as Bucky Rogers. We've got Dominic Cooper as Howard Stark. Tommy Lee Jones, plus many others. So, in this Captain America, or first installment of the Captain America franchise, or even like the start of, or one of the starting movies of the Avengers universe, we follow Steve Rogers wanting to basically join the American army to do his part in World War II, and he keeps trying to join and keeps getting rejected. He is a very small, lanky, weak kind of person with medical issues, but he still has that passion to kind of join the American forces. It's not long before he gets offered a chance to be part of an experimental kind of program to turn him into a super soldier. So, what do I honestly think about this movie? I think this movie is an enjoyable watch, and there are many reasons why I enjoy this movie as well, which I'm going to get into right about now. Oh, I watched this movie about an hour and a half ago, and I've literally just spent the last hour and a half trying to think about what I like and what I dislike. There are things that I dislike about this movie, but they're not really enough to even make a dent in how much I actually enjoyed this movie. And even then, the dislikes are just like certain things which seem slightly out of place, or the fact they could have gone into depth with certain other things, as in character development or more character development to other characters in this movie. But like I said, they're not really dislikes as such, because as a whole, I was still extremely entertained by this whole movie. And what I generally really enjoy about this movie is it is an origin story. The first hour of this movie is purely dedicated to character development and growing an emotional attachment to the main character played by Chris Evans, Steve Rogers. That first hour, you get, like I said, you get to see him as this weak kind of scrawny kind of person who has medical issues, who has this passion to do his bit. He wants to go and fight for his country. You can see that passion. There is no real major other interest apart from going to war and doing his bit. Whether he gets killed or not, he just wants his opportunity to go and do his bit. And you really do get behind this character. And you can see that there is a lot of time and effort done by Chris Evans in preparing for this role, because you do very much get an emotional attachment to him extremely quickly. And I just liked what he did with this character, because it really works for me, you know, a lot, because you do get behind him, you do get on board with this character extremely quickly, and you're willing him along at certain points of this movie to do well. And it isn't until the point where he gets that opportunity to be part of that experimental program to become a super soldier, and you get to see that massive or huge or kind of change he has to go through, but yet he still hasn't lost that kind of humanity side to him. Yes, this is mentioned in the movie, and this is the reason why he's able to become Captain America, but he never loses that kind of passion or goal. And another and this isn't a dislike, is there you're wanting him to go to battle, and even after he becomes Captain America, you still get a bit of a delayed kind of it's still delayed a little bit before you actually get to see him in action, and you get to see his anxiety and kind of frustration kind of grows with the fact that he become the soldier do to go to war, but yet he's still not given that opportunity. And you, like I said, you get behind him, and there is a certain point where you just like going, yeah, come on, come on, let's get into being Captain America. So in a certain respect, what I enjoy about this, it is a movie of two halves. First half, character development, get behind your character. Second half is more about the Captain America, which is nice because the first time I watched this, I was kind of hoping that they wouldn't go like, okay, this is a Captain America movie. We must get the action in as fast as possible because it's not necessarily needed in an origin story. It's just, I love the build up from somebody, we had this in Batman Begins, from somebody being nothing to something to then somebody becoming something. And I just enjoy that, watching that transitional kind of change and that journey that he has to take to become this new person. It's just, it's the standout point of this movie for me. It's the biggest thing that I enjoy about this movie as a whole. Other things I enjoy is just the way it looks, the style, the retro kind of feel. This movie is set in the 1940s, but yet they add just enough of futuristic style to give it just a little bit of an edge on it, just to make that even more enjoyable. Essentially, even in real life in the 1940s, technology was actually starting to change. There were things being invented which people were going into the unknown, and we've had this kind of scenario, as in like the birth of the internet, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. It is going into the unknown or trying something you've never tried before, and I can only imagine what it was like in that time, because you also get to see this in the movie. They're introduced to some technology that they've never seen before, and they're just like going, what is that kind of thing? And I just think they really played it off really, really well. They didn't go overboard with the futuristic style. I think they did just enough to go, okay, this is good. This is working on the style and the time. They're not overdoing this, and it just made it just even. It's an added feature to this movie that just made it even more enjoyable. Most of the performances in this movie I actually really, really enjoy, to be fair. So Agent Carter is basically Steve Rogers' love interest in her. You don't get a huge backstory to her. You get like a touch on it slightly, and she is like the main, another driving force for Steve Rogers. You can see that there is a relationship building there, and it's that kind of relationship you're willing it along, but it never really develops. They do hint on it, they do touch on it. I'm not going to give too much away just in case you haven't seen it. It's just like a nice little added bit to this movie, and there is a nice little scene towards the end. It's not a tearjerker as such, but you do actually feel for both of the characters, which is just a nice little added touch towards the end of the movie, because you can see that there is emotions developing between them throughout the movie. The only other real performance I really didn't enjoy well, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, is Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones did actually introduce some good comedic kind of moments. He comes across as this sarcastic kind of general, I do believe it is. And I do enjoy his character in here, but Tommy Lee Jones was just playing other Tommy Lee Jones's part, this kind of thing. He always brings the same kind of role to some of his movies. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just that when he was on screen, you kind of knew what was coming because you've seen it before. And like I said, it's not a bad thing because it does add to the movie. It does add some comedic moments. He is quite a good role in this, just like most of the other roles in here. I'm going to have to touch on Hugo Weaving's character as Red Skull as well. Generally, I really enjoyed him as a villain. You get to see at the beginning of this movie how sadistical and nasty and kind of psychotic or has no care for human life at the beginning of this movie. And you get to see, you do get that sense that he is a villain that is willing to stop at nothing. And they do touch on this at the beginning of this movie. He has no remorse to anybody that stands in his way, and you know he's got an agenda, he's got a goal. Again, I'm not going to go too into depth with this character because I don't want to give any part of this movie away, or I'm trying not to give too much of this movie away. But Hugo Weaving, anyway, generally as a villain, I just always enjoy. I think he's a fantastic actor, and I do generally like what they did. I think they could have gone a little bit more into depth with this character. You do get a bit of a backstory to him. They touch on this a little bit, but they don't go too into depth with it. But then again, this, yeah, I think they did just about enough to make him. He's not the best villain in the world, I have to be honest, but he's still an enjoyable villain. And you know that the end goal is something catastrophic and something really, really bad. Comedic moments in this movie, really, really enjoyed. I like the way it was put together. I like the attention to detail. The main standout part of this for me is the fact that there is a whole hour dedicated to character development to Steve Rogers. His transitional change, that kind of, you get behind him and you're willing him along kind of feel, and you really get involved with this character. I generally like what Chris Evans did with this character a lot, and I think it's definitely an enjoyable watch. It's not the first time I've watched it. It's just that I watched this movie a little bit more carefully this time because obviously I was going to review it. If I was to give this a rating, I would give this an 8 out of 10. It's the only reason why I'm giving this, why would I give this 8 out of 10? Why didn't I give it a 10 out of 10? The reason why I gave it an 8 out of 10 is because there are certain things which just seemed a little bit out of place, and I do believe that a little bit more character development was needed in this movie. I'm not saying it's necessarily essential, but I'm just one of these people that just enjoys a bit more character development so I can gather that emotional attachment to the main characters in a movie. Like I said, it's still an enjoyable watch. It's very, very entertaining. It's probably one of, I mean, to be honest with you, I like all the MCU movies, to be honest. I have my different grades on how much I enjoy them. I don't dislike any Marvel movie. It's just I have different grades on how much I enjoy them. Hence the reason why I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. So on that note, please tell me what you think. Put it in the comments down below. As normal, please stay tuned for the 5 bonus facts, which are coming up right about now. So, 5 bonus facts about Captain America, the First Avenger. Fact number 1 is that Chris Evans declined the role 3 times, believe it or not. Not because he disliked the role either. It was that kind of, he had this worry about this big sudden thrust into fame, on how much of a toll it would have on his private life. And it was actually Robert Downey Jr. Actually convinced him to take the role. Then he met up with directors and producers, and they eventually persuaded him to actually take this role, which will then lead on to my second fact, is that the Sebastian Stan was actually considered for the role as Captain America, but got the role of Bucky. Now, thinking about that, I'm glad that didn't happen. I really, really did. Chris Evans was actually made for this role. Every time Captain America is in a movie, it's pretty much a Captain America movie. He steals the show every time, and that's just my own personal opinion. So if Sebastian Stan as Captain America, would that have worked, knowing that he's in this movie playing Bucky? Would he be able to portray Captain America as good as Chris Evans? No. I can, for me, honestly, hold my hands up, no, I really don't think he can. So, fact number 3, the Captain America comic book, which is featured in the movie, is actually the Captain America cover from issue number 1 that was released in 1941, believe it or not, which I kind of get that something like this would actually be included. And the MCU has a very, very good attention to detail when it comes to their movies as well. There are certain little things in certain certain MCU movies which are just really, really good attention to detail kind of things. So, fact number 5, the wall art hiding the Tesseract at the beginning of the film shows the world tree, which is the same concept. My notes have just fallen over, if you haven't noticed. It's the same concept design that Thor shares with Jane Foster in the 2011's the Thor movie. Sorry, my notes just kind of fell over, so I had to hold them up, and it kind of put me off a little bit. But yeah, there's 5 interesting facts. Once again, there were more facts on this movie that I was reading up. I just chose 5, and there they are. So if you enjoy the bonus little feature, apart from where my notes fall over, which is just part of the filming, and I'm going to keep that in. I'm not going to cut it out. I'm not going to reshoot it. I'm going to keep that as it is, because it just shows that I have to write stuff down to be able to do these movie reviews. So on that note, please tell me what you think. Put it in the comments down below. As normal, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, whatever you're doing. Please take care and goodbye.